Away league victories against the Saints in 2013 for the first time in 62 years. St Helens were disappointed with their performance at the Magic Weekend. For the Giants, as we've just heard, it's 5 wins in a row now. The teams then will line up like this. And St Helens have got Paul Wellens at fullback for the first time this year. Johnny Lomax was injured at the Magic Weekend. Josh Jones was another casualty of the Manchester Magic. His 49-game run comes to an end, but it's a welcome chance for Gary Wheeler to return to Super League. He's got to be one of the most unlucky players with injury in the game. In the forwards, they'll miss Alex Walmsley, another injury victim. Mossima Soim gets a rare start. Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook moves back into the front row after being loose forward last week. Sia Soliola starts, and so too does Mark Flanagan after missing the last 2 matches. Only Luke Thompson remains on the bench from last week. Anthony Walker started against Warrington. Greg Richards gets his first appearance since the Good Friday defeat here against Wigan. Now, Huddersfield look fairly settled if the shirt numbers are anything to go by, but Ben Blackmore plays. Jermaine McGilvery failed a fitness test this afternoon, and Jody Broughton, who got 2 tries last week against Bradford, is also injured. The battle between Danny Brough and Saints' Luke Walsh could be pivotal to tonight's outcome. Up front, Earl Crabtree starts at prop. Lon Patrick returns to the starting lineup, having been a substitute in Manchester last Sunday. And the bench today is occupied by Ukuma Tai, who started at the Magic, and Anthony Mullally is a young man in form, back from a loan spell at Bradford. He scored tries in each of the last 2 games. So the Huddersfield Giants, they lost in the Challenge Cup last month against St Helens in fairly controversial circumstances. Danny Brough's drop goal attempt missed. Luke Walsh's drop goal moments later took the Saints through to the next round. And the Saints, when they beat Huddersfield in the Cup, they were on top of their game. Since then, they've been knocked out of the Cup themselves, and their Super League form has definitely dipped. Now, it's a big night for Paul Wellens, because not only is it his first fullback appearance of the year, his last start at fullback was way back on the 9th of June 2013 in a 30-18 win against the Bradford Bulls, and he's on the 8th fullback to start under Nathan Brown. Tommy Makinson is Super League's top try scorer. This should be a tremendous match, because Saints desperate to get back on the horse after last week, and Huddersfield right bang in form. Referee is Richard Silverwood. He's waiting to get this game underway, blows the whistle. Luke Walsh will kick off. Here we go. And it's been raining pretty consistently throughout the course of the day here in St Helens. And the pitch is lush, to say the least. And, well, it'll be testing for the players as the match rolls on, because this grass is very, very lush indeed.
Yeah, it's an opener that St Helens want to start very, very strong indeed. A lot of people suggesting that their attitude has not been right over the past couple of weeks, especially in their defeat at Warrington at the Magic. And they do know, and Paul Anderson, the Huddersfield coach, fully aware that they've been a little bit slow to start this season, but they have the power in the forwards. Can the St Helens pack handle that?
Sean Luntner's a dummy half. The kicking game from Danny Brough will be crucial, but his first attempt is picked out of the air by Tommy Makinson. Good chase, though, by Lon Patrick, by Brett Ferris. There's the chairman, who's unhappy, if you take his programme notes tonight as anything to go by. But he says, rightly, they must not panic. They must not overreact. There's a long, long way to go yet, half the season. And they're third in the table, for goodness sake. Yeah,
I know, but it's the reaction that's a little bit different, Teddy, in regard to the fact that we're talking about the panic. It was panic. They were trying to force a pass. You know, the opening 20 minutes against Warrington, they had many breaks, could not get that final pass away. Just panic.
Here we are on the last tackle. That's why the kick from Walsh is long and downfield. It's a little bit too long, in all fairness. And Ben Blackmore gets his first touch. Paul Anderson, the coach of the Huddersfield Giants, a former St Helens favourite, of course, and a former favourite at the Bradford Bulls as well.
And he knows the importance, just Paul Anderson, of having that very strong set of forwards, especially this fella. He was going to start on the bench, but Anderson, rightly so, brought out the big Crabtree. to just penetrate through that St. Helens defence.
Brett Ferris was playing the ball there, and Paul Anderson saying last week it was tremendous to have him back. Of course, he finished a 5-match suspension last weekend for a spear tackle on St. Helens' Johnny Lomax. That's nothing to do with his absence here tonight. Lomax, he was injured in the Magic weekend, and Brough holds his hand up. He knows that wasn't the best kick.
No, I needed a little bit more height, but you know, a lot of the coaches aren't really worried if he goes dead in goal. They know they can set up on that 30-metre line, and very difficult to get through. They're very, very strong, Huddersfield, in and around the play the ball area. Saints need to get it out wide, which they're doing now.
Yes, they attempted to do that, and there's a foot over the line, but it belongs to Gary Wheeler, and so Dawson was able to play the ball. That was Wilkin. Here is Helens, who's seen plenty of it early. Good tackling by Ferris. 200th Super League appearance for Ferris tonight, with 4 clubs: Bradford, Wakefield, Castleford, and here at the Giants. Good offload. Roby picks up for the Saints. Tries to make ground forward, but Chan and Crabtree saw to it that that wasn't going to happen. O'Hire, back it goes to Wilkin. Left-footed kick down the line from Wilkin, and well positioned by Scott Griggs, who runs the ball back, the Huddersfield full-back. He bounces off Wilkin, but he can't get away from the next 2 in, Wheeler and O'Hire.
A little bit nervous from both sides, especially in the kicking department. Not all that good.
I think they'll have prepared this week. Both teams set for a rainy day, although we don't have much rain at the minute. As you mentioned, Eddie, before kick-off, a deluge of water, and pretty much throughout the week it's been wet. And I reckon that both coaches will have worked hard on the kicking game, hard on the chase, and trying to exert some pressure on the opposition.
This is Joe Wardle, the 22-year-old Scottish international. He's only missed 1 match this year. He plays the ball, and it's Brough again. This time a low scudder that will be picked up on his own line by Matty Dawson. Right, I think Rod's got the seaweed out, and he can tell us what the conditions are like at ground level.
Absolutely, Eddie. Yeah, just as Barry was saying that we're not having too much rain, it started to open the heavens, and you could charge a lot for that kind of service in sort of farming areas. It started to drizzle quite heavily actually now. It's coming down more than steadily. The pitch though is pretty good out there, Eddie. It's holding up quite nicely, cutting up in patches, but given the rain that you mentioned earlier, those deluges mid-afternoon, doesn't look too bad out there.
No, and the academy match before this game was a real cracker, and it was won by St. Helens juniors by 14 points to 12. That's a good ball from Walsh. He's put John Wilkin through the gap, and he has got some support with him here with Wheeler. And can Gary Wheeler crown his return? No, he can't. Scott Griggs and also Ben Blackmore saw to that. But Saints aren't done yet. Here is Walsh on the ball again, changing the direction. Soliola into centre field. Wheeler, and I think he's got over the line here. Wheeler gets the try for Saints.
Tremendous pass that set it all up. The chairman, Evan McNanna's very, very happy with that. But the Walsh pass that sent through the big second rower, John Wilkin, was out of the top drawer. Had the opportunity, look at that. Luke Robinson really should have shifted in, and they left a huge gap, and this is a great finish. They should have finished it. They had the numbers there.
I think it was the line of Walsh. He dragged in Kopchak, created the space, and this is a magnificent finish. Above his head, Roby to Wilkin. Coolness, calmness, composure. Ball back on the inside. Great start for the Saints.
Do you know, there isn't a massive difference between this week and last. They made the breaks. There's a pass here eventually that they get the ball free. They're obviously making the breaks as they did last week, but the composure to control the ball firstly with Wheeler and then execute that final play and score was the slight difference, which obviously will put 6 points on the board for this one.
Well, Walsh is to take the conversion attempt of Wheeler's try. And Luke Walsh, this will be his 50th successful kick of the campaign. Rumours abound that Luke is a little homesick at the moment, and he might be finishing his stint at St. Helens 12 months early. He's on a 2-year deal, but the rumours are that he might be heading home. We'll see. Gary Wheeler, though, everyone will be delighted. The most unlucky player with injury.
Yeah, and it's a great finish, but Paul Anderson, the Huddersfield coach, knows that it should have been stopped. They tried their damnedest, And that will please the chairman, and rightly so.
Yes, he leads the applause. There is Gary Wheeler. 7th season here and only 56 appearances. That's been the tail of the tape as far as Gary's concerned.
Hasn't had much luck, has he? Paul Anderson will get the message out. You know, we said that the other sides, they know and try to put a pressure on Luke Walsh, but that position, Lan Patrick has been given that task. The trouble is, if you go for Walsh, you've got to make sure you've got someone else coming with you. And that was the reason why Wilkin went through an enormous gap.
Sia Soliola just poked his nose through that tackle, was looking to offload, couldn't do, but that was a quick play, the ball. Roby then finds Wellens. Wellens wants to get on with it quickly and does. Roby again, here's Soliola. Soliola to Wilkin, now Wheeler, the try scorer.
Well, it's a lot quicker hands, isn't it, that we've seen from St. Helens.
And the crowd starting to sing when the Saints go marching in. They're 6 points ahead, and we've had 7, nearly 8 minutes. High kick here. This is a tester for Griggs. He claims it. He claimed it well.
That was a good set of 6 if you're a Saints player. The speed of the ruck, the skill on shore. Good signs early on for Saints. They look in the mood tonight, Saints. Embarrassed last weekend, and the honesty of Paul Wellens looked like it has made an effect to the dressing room and definitely to the start of this game.
Yes, they've started very positively. There's no doubt about it. 4 defeats in the last 6 League and Cup matches, though. Just has dropped the mood here slightly, but underestimate Huddersfield at your peril. Walsh didn't manage to get hold of Wardle. He rolled out of the challenge, but in the end it was finished off by Jordan Turner. And from inside the 40, Brough gets the kick away, but it's a bit high, and it's easy for Wellens, who positioned himself on that right-hand side.
Well, again, we've seen Danny Brough go for the option of the high kick. It was easy to take by the full back. Surprisingly, in wet conditions, that he has not kept it low and just dinked it right into the corner.
This is Matty Dawson again, centre field for Saints. He plays the ball to Roby. McCarthy Scarsbrook wearing 10, playing 10 tonight, playing in the front row alongside Mossy Massoy and James Roby, who is on the ball now, makes a break. Beautiful break from Roby. Nobody with him. Yes, there is. Lance O'Hire. He rolled the tackle well from Griggs and just pulled the ball up for Lance O'Hire. And Lance O'Hire touches down, and St. Helens off to the desired start by everybody here at Langtree Park. They lead 10-0. Kick to come. Lance O'Hire has just recorded his 5th try of the Super League campaign.
One of the best hookers in Super League is this man, James Roby. That was very, very poor defence. No one hardly got a fingertip to him. Stopped by Scott Griggs, but the support, which certainly wasn't on display last weekend at the Magic. Look how he just keeps his calm. Yeah, there's going to be somebody there, and it's Lance O'Hire. Well, I said that Saints had to get off to a flying start, and boy, they have done just that. Tremendous support by this fella, number 6, Lance O'Hire.
You can trace a lot of tries back to the play before the try was scored itself, and if you look at what St. Helens have done, I think some of the big men in the middle of the field have run harder, got up and played the ball quicker, and that's obviously going to make James Roby look more dangerous when he gets a fast play of the ball, the markers aren't set, and the defence is even in reverse. A great play. He still played well this season, even when his side haven't, and he's had some good support there now for the 2nd try.
Yes, the pace that Saints are playing at the moment is overwhelming the Huddersfield Giants. This is Luke Walsh with his 2nd conversion. He doesn't make a mistake, and St. Helens have raced into a 12-0 lead.
Well, one of the best compliments I can give James Roby, and he's had this throughout his career, is if you don't look too closely at this, you think it could be Kieran Cunningham, 1996, 97, the speed, the ruthlessness he's got. As soon as he gets that quick play, the ball, he's up and he's out, and he has the pace just to create those chances, and Lance O'Hire is the beneficiary on that time.
Well, the Huddersfield Giants, who won here 40 points to 4 last February 2013. It wasn't the best start to life at St. Helens for Nathan Brown. The Giants also won at home in June last year. They finished top of the table for the first time in 81 years. But in the opening 11 minutes here, they've hardly had their hands on the ball. It's been all St. Helens.
Yeah, we said before this game started that it's been a problem for the Giants this year, in as much that
40-20 here for Walsh.
they're very, very slow to start. It won't make it. It's bending the other way. But look at the chase. There's problems, and Murphy is absolutely blocked to the ground.
Well, there's your low kick, Steve. As this rain gets heavier, as the pitch gets more greasy, you're right, they'll be low, they'll be hard, and they'll be very difficult to deal with. Great defence from Saints.
And that's why Paul Anderson has got to get the message out to his kicker, Danny Brough, that not go high. Remember, right down the throat of Paul Wellens, set them on the move, got 25 metres forward. Rover did the rest.
Well, I don't know what medicine Nathan Brown has been giving his troops this week, but whatever it is, in the opening 12 minutes, it's working wonders.
Well, it was a tongue lashing, wasn't it?
It's personal pride, Steve, as well. They were hurt, just like the fans, just like the spectators. The Saints players knew that weren't good enough last week.
Well, again, we see the high shot. Now, normally, you'd think that they come on the short blind side, push it right down into the corner and try to force the error. They're not on song, I'm afraid, the Giants.
Wilkin gets the pass away. There's more opportunities here, but that's an important tackle there by young Blackmore on another youngster in the St Helens side, Matt Dawson. And Massoy is a difficult man to pull down.
Yeah, he's putting himself about as well. Has been slow starting this season.
Lovely step, beautiful step, wonderful pass. Try for Paul Wellens.
Well, it looked for all the world that Richard Hilderwood was going to put a forward pass, but he was in an absolute sensational position.
That's a 10th try in home games against Huddersfield for Paul Wellens. He's third on the all-time Super League try-scoring charts. That's number 189 for Wellens. And he had a lot to say after the match last week when he came on as a substitute. And between him and Brown, well, the tongue lashing has worked a miracle.
Referee position, Silverwood, quite outstanding. And the inside pass, beautiful.
Well, Paul Wellens has backed up his words with some great actions here, been on the inside, knowing when Luke Walsh would get his arms free and being in the right place at the right time. Huddersfield have no answer. Physically, they can't cope with the pace with which St Helens are playing the game at present. And it's 18 points to nil in what, inside 15 minutes?
Yeah, blistering start from the Saints. And Wellens, he's won just about everything in the game, but he said if they don't get their heads screwed on properly, this is his comments after last week, I'm paraphrasing. He said if they don't get their heads screwed on properly, they'll be sitting at home on their lounge couches watching the grand final on October the 11th instead of playing in it. And that's the ambition now for St Helens this year. Walsh adds the extras, 18-0 it is.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Last week against Warrington, it was exactly the same scoreline. St Helens not playing well, Warrington certainly taking advantage, and Paul Anderson realises he's got to get one message out there. Hey lads, you've got to tackle on the legs. They're the things that keep you moving, and the opposition.
Well, they need to be able to stop players like Mossy Massoy here, don't they? They've got enough time to get back and win this game, but have they got the physical capacity to cope with the big forwards here running forward? Oh, this is a kick that's going to get... Is that a knock-on in goal?
Yes, it is.
Now that's a chance, isn't it? It's 15 minutes into the match, and Huddersfield are going to get their first chance to attack.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they had any field position. And it just bounced awkward, didn't it, for Dawson?
Well, Lance Ohio wasn't interested, and Dawson did his best. The elbow came up, it was a knock-on, goal line dropout then, so maybe a slight shift in the balance of power here after the opening quarter of an hour and the salvo that St Helens have thrown at this Huddersfield team.
Well, at least for the first time in the game that we'll see whether Huddersfield has got any prowess in attack. But it's their defence, I'm afraid, that's all at sea.
This is Blackmore, no Broughton, who got 2 tries last week at Magic, he's injured. And no Jermaine McGilvray either, though McGilvray was named in the team yesterday and failed a fitness test late this afternoon.
And look how St Helens are getting out of the blocks very quickly indeed. That's solid defence.
Ferris, though, plays the ball. That was Lunt, this is Brough. He dabs it over the top, but Wellens was there, and that was easy for him.
He's been around too long, hasn't he, Paul Wellens?
Oh, he's injured, though, there. He got a clatter.
Yeah, got a bit of a knock, but his positional play throughout his entire career has been outstanding. Always had that ability, hasn't he, when they get the ball, that he could beat the first man, and invariably he did.
It looks like he's in slow motion sometimes, Paul Wellens, and that's not an insult. He hustles and hurries to the place where he needs to be, so he looks like he's got all the time in the world to make those crucial decisions at the back.
Good set of 6 defensively for Huddersfield here. This is the last, and Walsh has to kick from his own 20-metre line, straight into the arms of Scott Griggs, who pops it up for Aaron Murphy to have a run at them.
Well, that surprised me. I thought that Luke Walsh had got it all controlled. He was kicking low. Before that, it takes a leaf out of the Giants' book, puts it right down the throat of the full-back.
Joe Wardle now. And here comes Brett Ferris. Good offload from Ferris to Sean Lunt. On his knees, Crabtree picked that up. But he has the strength also, by the way, to wrestle himself out of the clutches. And I think it was Soliola, yes it was. And that takes some doing, let me tell you. Loose pass. Finds its way to Griggs, and it was touched by St Helens. Referee wipes the tackle count down. So Griggs plays it, and here's Lunt again. And Jason Chan will take it forward. Nathan Brown, Kieran Cunningham watching on, must be delighted with the opening 17 minutes, but know that they've got a challenge on here now as Huddersfield threaten the line for the first time. Lunt goes left and finds Brough. And Brough goes short and gives it to Ferris. And Ferris gets the ball away to Griggs.
Griggs just came a little bit too late there. Ferris was wanting for it sharper.
First assault on the Saints line from the Giants. Good ball. Lon Patrick will score for Huddersfield. Well, that tells you something, that they've got some fighting spirit out there, the Giants. And that really is, I mean, memory fades, I know, but I'm sure it's not failing me on this occasion. That's the first time Huddersfield have threatened this St Helens line.
Yeah, and it was a good run, wasn't it? Utilised the dummy runner to perfection. And the dummy runner, remember, we've had problems with the offside and the obstruction. And this is well finished. He caught one right across the mush as well. Look at this, look at the big fella, Earl Crabtree. Get out of there. And power and strength got them there. And boy, did they need this, but this was a set pattern. You can see they used Craig Kopchak as the dummy runner. He put the ball right across the front of the prop forward, Kopchak, and Patrick did the rest.
Well, the man of steel, Danny Brough, reigning man of steel, adds the extras, left-footed, no problems from bang in front, 18-6. And Huddersfield look as though they do mean to make a game of it. Lon Patrick with the try. It's only his 7th appearance of 2014, this.
Well, there isn't many players as good at making that decision in the game, and there's 2 attackers either side of a defender, isolating him, making him make an impossible decision. And Lon Patrick, who's used to great effect coming off the bench, getting a rare start and getting his team back in the game.
Stopping offloads and then it's complete.
Well, it was a very strong start from St Helens. We expected it, didn't we, after what had happened last week? But really, we've seen a great response as well, haven't we, now, by the Huddersfield Giants. When you consider that both teams have had a similar amount of possession, they've done really well. 4 breaks made by St Helens. You know, very rarely will a side convert 4 into 3 tries, but St Helens did that. Mike was critical before the game about last week, when they made chances, brought their opponent's line, but didn't score the points. That hasn't been the case. That's the reason why they're 12 points ahead right now.
Yes, it's a complete reversal of last weekend. Saints were 18-0 down in the first 20 minutes against Warrington. This will help Huddersfield, this penalty. They then went 36-6 down early in the second half. They did respond last week, did Saints, but not to the degree they wanted. And this is the first penalty we've just seen of the match.
And it was silly play by the standoff, Lance O'Hire.
But what about the footwork? He's got magic feet, Fayumu, and all the best trying to tackle him. You see the pressure from Saints defensively coming on now. And one of the interesting aspects of the game, once we get into it, there's 20 minutes gone now. The benches of both teams have worked out. The Saints side, the average or the oldest player is 22 and the youngest is 18. So youth definitely on the side of the Saints side. Will that convert into enthusiasm and energy? We'll see.
Good enthusiasm, good energy there from Jason Chan. Here is Luke Robinson. Robinson goes short. Good offload to Danny Brough. And Brough gets the pass out wide. Good tackle, though. Great tackle by Makinson on Wardle. Here's Griggs. They're going down that left-hand side with Brett Ferris. And Ferris is shrugged off the attention of two. And he's still going, Ferris. He gets to within half a metre of the line. Makinson's underneath him. Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook was on top. Here is Brough now, slides the kick in. And
What a
Saints
take.
have it. That was brilliant take, wasn't it? It really was by John Wilkin.
Unbelievable by the second rower. That was going at some pace. Got the right arm around it. But that's a lot better.
He'd get a game for England cricket team. John Wilkin just ducked down and pounced that ball, snuffing out the danger.
There, John Wilkin. He missed the cup win at Huddersfield, but he played in the last 7. And Roby to Walsh, who a looping pass.
That was a huge gamble.
It was. Jordan Turner, though, with the strength, but Brough pushes him over the whitewash on the far side. It was pushed off first, was Danny, but, well, Jordan Turner just couldn't shrug him off, and he kept coming and coming, and in the end, look, just pushed him over the whitewash. That's all it takes, just a foot or an ankle on the line. Hen feed at this scrum to the Huddersfield Giants.
Well, after a shaky start, the Giants have just settled down, got themselves organised. Such a talent, isn't he? Danny Brough he's electric at times. I always get the feeling when he's in top form, the Giants certainly play exceptionally well, but that's great defence.
As it is, Chan is brought down by 3. John Wilkin made the initial challenge. And here is David Fayumu. Robinson, who saw a little gap then. Almost got past Roby. He wasn't getting past Wilkin. Lunt again. Brough, the architect.
Oh, they got a little bit confused in attack there, did the Giants. Brough was looking for someone coming late. They all went early. That looked a touch forward. Got away with it.
And Ferris hangs on. They loaded that left-hand side, did the Huddersfield Giants.
Got to be a rubber kick into the in-goal area, Eddie.
Jordan Turner was trapped then. Crossfield kick from Danny Brough. Over the head flick. Oh, an interception. Here goes Dawson. Matty Dawson's got Cudjoe after him. This is going to be a good chase. And it is by Leroy Cudjoe. That's a try-saver. Quick play the ball, that's what they want, and Roby escapes Cudjoe this time on a diagonal run.
Great work from the hooker as well, Roby, realising that a lot of his players weren't in position. Now they are.
Huddersfield's defence is back, but have they got the numbers here? Dawson! No, they haven't. Matt Dawson with the try. He just skipped inside the would-be challenge of Scott Griggs. He started it with the interception on his own 10-metre line, and about 3 or 4 tackles later he's over for his 4th try of the season.
Well, Danny Brough took the wrong option. In wet conditions, you put it on the floor. It can skid, it can go all over, he can get a knock on, but didn't he do well to get back? Unbelievable run from Dawson, but yet he puts himself in the right position. Nice step as well. He'll enjoy that. Super stuff. How many times have we seen Paul Wellens link into the 3-quarter line from fullback?
Well, this is a composure that was definitely missing last weekend. I think Leroy Cudjoe, when he watches that again, he should have shown more composure. He was at marker, isolated on his own. He had no need to commit himself to James Roby, who always is a danger. And I'm not pointing that try at one individual, but it could have given Huddersfield Giants vital seconds to get defenders back and put some faces in front of St Helens.
Well, he came up, didn't he, with the original try-saving tackle. And they did get the numbers back eventually, Huddersfield, but they had no answer in the end. And Matt Dawson's try, it's 22 points to 6. Now he's kicked 3 from 3 already, Luke Walsh, but this is the most difficult by a mile, because he's tight to the touchline on this left-hand side. There he is. And can he add the extras here? Luke Walsh. averaging 10 points a game so far for the Saints, is the Australian scrum half, who everyone believed at the start of season was the last piece in Nathan Brown's jigsaw. He's pushed that the wrong side of the posts. At 22 points to 6, it's a handy lead.
It's hard to tell, isn't it, at this stage, whether St Helens have been great for 20 minutes or a little below what we'd expect from them. It's a fantastic finish there, isn't it? Paul Wellens does well to create that chance, to the delight of the St Helens coaches, Kieran Cunningham, Nathan Brown. But I'm just expecting and hoping to see a bit more from Huddersfield. That was, like you say, at this stage in the match, the kick was so risky. They almost didn't need to take it, and it's cost them 4 points, which might be hard to get back in these conditions.
Yeah, it certainly would, and you know, it's so slippery out there that it really should have been just a little kick into the in-goal area, try to get the second set. Say you take the gamble, and when you kick like that, you could see that there was no full back in position, and it was fully deserved and well finished by Matt Dawson.
Wilkin stands, gets the pass away to the substitute Luke Thompson, only 19 years of age. We've seen some young talent, haven't we, on Sky Sports over the past couple of nights in the Super League. But here is, well, you call him a veteran, James Roby. Wonderful run, and he's still going.
Incredible player. Has been for many times. Will they put this bomb up, or will they put it into the corner? They're doing the right thing.
I think they've got the right attitude to this game, Saints. They're just willing to just chip away at the game. It's a left-footed kick that just puts all kinds of pressure on Huddersfield Giants. Challenges them to come out of that corner. And you're right to highlight Luke Thompson. I'm a big admirer of him, just as he gives a penalty away. But I think his engine, his work rate, his competitive edge will mean that he's got a huge future in the game.
Well, look at the Saints bench here tonight. There's Thompson 19, Richards 18, Walker 22 and Greenwood 21. Just looking quickly down the list, Wellens is the oldest man in the Saints side. He's 34. Lance O'Hire's over 30 as well. He's 31. Other than that, not too much age in this St Helens team. Catalan Bradford tomorrow, 1:55. Sky Sports 3 will be in Perpignan, and you'll be able to see all the tries from this weekend's round of the First Utility Super League in full time, Monday, 7 o'clock.
But it's going to be a heavy job now for the Giants to get into any good field position. And, you know, I'm sure that Nathan Brown would have said to all these youngsters that is on show tonight that, you know, take a look at what happened with those youngsters from Wigan last night. If they can produce it, so can you.
It's a great take. That was a huge bomb from Danny Brough, and Matt Dawson took it really confidently underneath his own posts. Now then, it's Huddersfield's turn to apply the pressure on Makinson.
And they've got to up the tempo as well. Keep them down there. Good position, though, by this fella, Matt Dawson. Been impressed.
Big collision for Makinson. Oh,
that's a great defensive effort. The kick was excellent. They trapped St Helens close to their own try line here. They know they've got 50 minutes plus here to score 3 converted tries. That's long enough if they're prepared to work as hard as this with the defence. In conditions like this, the ball will come free. The referee says he's lost it as he's trying to get back up to his feet. Is that interfered with?
Well, the tackle's being called, held. He's got to release it. So, you know, really that should have gone Saints' way. Just left his hand in there too long.
And he pulled the arm rather than the ball. Fooled everybody. Here we are with St Helens in defence then, defending this run from Cudjoe. Robinson.
Still plenty of minutes left in this first half for the Giants to hit back.
That's Jason Chan, 10 metres out. He'll play it here to Sean Lunt, who'll find Robinson in space. And a short ball from Robinson.
Great tackle there, wasn't it, by the big fella, Thompson.
Lunt again. Comes to Robinson. Here is Jason Chan. And Saints bring him down. That's 4 tackles gone, but they're 3 metres from the line. Lunt indicating he wants the players to all come up a bit. Brough gets the ball away to Ferris. And Ferris, well, that was knocked back by the foot, so it's play on. Got away with that, did Ferris. This is a good run. That's a very good run. And there's a chance here for Cudjoe.
Oh, why did he stop? Really should have gone for the corner.
Chan has stopped, he doesn't know what to do. That was knocked out. Well, that looked like it was knocked out and knocked forward by the St Helens defender. Was it Lance O'Hire?
Oh, they did well, Saints, then. They kept the defensive line intact. Nobody jumped out. Nobody putting the players at the side of them under pressure. You see, Lance O'Hire slapped that ball out, Stuart.
That should have been a knock-on.
Yeah, he's played at the ball. He went at the ball. That should have been Huddersfield ball again.
Oh, now then, Flanagan, well, he was caught. The referee says it's high.
Yeah, it is high.
And Wardle says I got him on the shoulder.
Well, his shoulder's pretty somewhere round about his ears. If that's the case, this is the one that should have been a knock-on. Should have been the man was in front. It could have been an offside, but at the worst, it should have been head and feet. And he realises it too, does Paul Anderson.
Are they new glasses for the big fella, then? He's a bit too young to be wearing spectacles.
Well, you can put the question afterwards if you wish.
I'll ask him.
Barry.
Well,
Andy Kelly sat in front of him, of course, as well, in Huddersfield garb tonight.
Well, talking of glasses, I think Paul Anderson was looking as if to say, I'd like to give them to a man called Richard Silverwood, because he got it wrong.
Binoculars, not glasses.
9 minutes to half-time. Saints in control, 22-6. Another big hit on Mark Flanagan. He's missed the last two, Flanagan. He injured his knee against Hull KR last April, and he's been in and out of the side since. This is Richards. Richards plays it to Roby. Roby then finds Walsh. Walsh gives it to Wellens. Chimes into the line at every opportunity, does Paul Wellens. Gets Saints to within 10. 2 tackles left. Roby. And here is Walsh. Now it's with O'Hire. And O'Hire will scoop through. Did he lose it though? Has he lost this? And there's also a question about obstruction in the back play. We're rolling the clock back 24 hours.
Not a surprise.
Stuart Cummings.
Well, it's 30 minutes. Thought I was getting a break tonight, but we've got our first one up on the board. Looking at obstruction as the ball's coming across. Got some runners going through. The first one, the pass is fine. It's on the outside. Then Helens' player leaves himself in the defensive line. That affect the defender coming across. Well, I think Lance O'Hire has come back through that gap that's created by the St Helens player being left in the line.
But what about Ferris? He looks as though he's obstructed.
That's the one I'm looking at.
Could he have been in the position to tackle?
That's what Stuart's exactly said.
And I reckon that could be no try then.
And the decision is no try, penalty for the obstruction.
Stays at 22-6. Lance O'Hire thought he was in for another.
I don't have a problem with this. I think it's a definite obstruction. Ferris would make that tackle were it not for Anthony Walker, who's directly in front of him. Did he drop the ball? No, he gets the ball down, but that was irrelevant. I think where people are getting frustrated is when it's 2 and 3 defenders away from the ball and the person that misses the tackle.
Well, I reckon that Brett Ferris deliberately went for the man to make sure that he could convince the
It's
video
very cynical
referee.
to think like that, it is, and it sometimes does appear that way, but I don't know. It's a mess at the minute, Steve, and without being too controversial, I think it's spoiling the game at the minute.
I agree.
Well, I would say something else. Why doesn't Andrew Walker get through the line and then there's not a problem? If he moves another 2 metres forward, then that try will be scored.
The agenda, I think, is being set for back chat on Tuesday at 10 o'clock on Sky Sports 2. No doubt Rod and Steve-O will have plenty to say with their guests.
Well, good teams, you know, strike back. When one tries disallowed at one end, they then score at the other. Have the Giants got it in them here now? Robinson, kick to the corner.
It's high. He was looking for the young winger Blackmore, but he never got off the ground, did he?
I think it's a bit frightened that he could have been penalised for touching the man in the air.
Could have been done for obstruction.
I'm amazed, Barry, that you have the temerity to suggest that Mr. Michael Stevenson is a cynic. But there is the man who's preparing his notes for back chat. Steve-O's mate.
He looks happy, doesn't he? He always looks happy, Rod. There you go. See his face crack.
Well, he's drenched, actually. He looks like a drowned rat.
He's the only man I know that could have an argument with himself in a telephone box.
Walsh's kick over the top.
It's a good one. It's a good one as well. It's a teaser. Chase is good as well.
I think it's just the two different tactics of both teams. Saints have said, we'll put it low and we'll put it hard and we'll put it into the corners of the snooker table. And Huddersfield are just trying to put it high. Great break from the Giants.
Yes, it is. It's that young man, Ben Blackmore. Up the middle he goes. Being interfered with a bit there. Here's Kyle Ward. Wood then to Brough. Brough to go wide to Ferris. Ferris just slipped as he approached Jordan Turner. This is Scott Grix, the dummy half. Infield it comes to Danny Brough. He has a look. And he was there, was Anthony Mullally. Mullally wants to get on with it and plays it. Robinson comes back inside. Down he goes. Here comes the last tackle then for the Giants.
Got to be a dribble into the in-goal area.
Wood is there. Brough up and over the top. Easy. Easy for Jordan Turner.
Well, the option from this man has not been good tonight, Danny Brough.
Do you think he got the ball a little less than he'd hoped? It didn't seem to come clean, did it, from Kyle Wood behind there?
There was a stutter, wasn't there, by Wood?
That early service, you know what, he so often goes unnoticed, doesn't it? But a good, quick pass, invitingly in front of the man who wants the ball, can make such a huge difference to the end result.
Well, this fella, Mossy Masoi.
Great word, that, Steve. Yeah. I agree with Phil. I think that the big charging runs, just 3-4 players having to deal with a human being as big as that. Just create spaces. Defenders are missing out of the defensive line.
And to be fair, it's taken him quite some time as Mossy Masoi to get right into the swing of things. Remember, he had a tremendous World Cup.
He picked up an injury as well, Steve, and that really hampered the start to his Saints career.
But he looks to be in good form tonight.
Well, the penalty only just found its way off the hands of Aaron Murphy into touch on that far side. Hence the reason why we have the scrum. He made a valiant effort to get to this.
Yeah, it wasn't far off, it was it?
He got to it, he just couldn't palm the ball back. It was just a little bit too high.
Will Saints do a set pattern move here? Good jump, just couldn't get to it.
Saints with the possession from the scrum. Roby goes right to Walsh. Walsh then flat pass. And Mark Flanagan picks himself up. Walsh, back it comes to O'Hire. O'Hire to Wilkin, he bounced off Cudjoe. And then gave it to Roby, and it somehow got to him. I think he missed it. I think he missed it.
He touched it.
Well, Richard Silverwood's closer than all of us, and he said he didn't. This is Anthony Walker. Roby again, 10 metres out. Stabs the kick into the in-goal area, all along the deck. Well watched by young Blackmore.
But see the difference between the two sides when it comes to the kicking game. Saints get anywhere near, but they put it in the air? No, so someone can catch it.
No, Roby did not touch it. Richard Silverwood was spot on.
I will get my eyes fixed tomorrow.
Do you have to pay for eye test?
At my age.
You know, the Giants almost need an eye test, don't they? They're that far. Every time they're starting the sets, they're so far from St Helens try line. He's tried something a little different to chip over the top. Oh, but it's not bounced for him on a surface today. The referee says a knock-on from Huddersfield. And we've got a massive 2 minutes here. St Helens have got, I think they've got the sense here. They need to, he's tried to chip over the top. He knows they're not getting the field position to strike close to the line, and just about came off his hand, I think.
Well, was it his knee?
It looked like his knee, and as far as Danny Brough is concerned...
Well, that's a worry if you're a Huddersfield Giants fan. I don't think he's touched it either, but if you see Danny Brough with his forehead... Well, there you go.
Goes backwards, though, doesn't it come backwards?
No, Phil, that's a knock-on. That's a knock-on.
Goes backwards, look at the ball.
That's a knock-on.
Cancel my appointment with the optician. I'll take apologies from you, Eduardo.
Yeah, we'll cancel that appointment. We'll leave you with the other one.
Is that a knock-on?
Well, it is. I think Richard Silverwood has deemed it to be.
I'm just going to finish my point, Eddie, about Danny Brough, if I can. I think the mood of Danny Brough has a big bearing and a big influence. That's definitely ripped out. Jason Chan all over that ball.
I think he'll let it go.
I think he's out of the tackle, Chan's out of the tackle before that ball is lost.
I agree. A minute and a quarter to the half-time break. Paul Anderson will be, I would think, desperate to get to his players.
Yeah, and so the St. Helens defence, they're desperate to get to the players as well. There's been a fine defensive effort from them. That really should have been a penalty. It was a right mess of the play the ball area there.
And I don't know if everyone there was onside either, but... Oh, it's a steal by Wilkin, but was it a knock-on? He pulled it forward, says the referee, and he did. He was facing his own line and he pulled it this way, so that is a knock-on. Spot on.
Well, Saints thought that they were going to get the head and feet. Wilkins confused. Paul Anderson is raring to have a few words. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong in that department. I think there might be many words, not few.
Well, the kick from the scrum here.
That's a knock-on.
In the days when Nathan Brown was the coach, they used to do that, didn't they, Cairns? They'd pick it up here now. Well, there's already somebody set off. He has done.
Robinson to the corner, inviting the chase, but it's too long. The kicking from Huddersfield hasn't been up to scratch.
Well, I can't believe, why do they have to pass it from the scrum base first before the kick? Why don't they kick right from the loose forward position if you've got a fast winger? Because no one had dropped back then. By the time you pass the ball, it gives them that split second to get someone back into position, which they did. It's been disappointing.
Neither side was interested in getting that scrum formed because there was only about 15 seconds remaining of the half. So that's a fairly good job done by St. Helens. Huddersfield threatened to come back in 18 minutes. They were 18-0 down at that stage after Wheeler, O'Hire and Wellens had scored tries, all improved by Luke Walsh. Then Lon Patrick scored, Danny Brough added the goal, 18-6, but Dawson's try, 22-6. But that was in the 24th minute. At least the Giants have stopped the bleeding. Now then, there's a great choice of sport across Sky Sports channels tonight on Sky Sports 1. Rugby Union, the Amlin Cup final, that's Bath against Northampton. On Sky Sports 2, it should have been T20 cricket, the Birmingham Bears against the Yorkshire Vikings. That's been abandoned, so they're enjoying some classic Ashes moments. Sky Sports 3, of course, it's the Super League from St. Helens here. And on Sky Sports 4, the US PGA Golf, the Crowne Plaza Invitational Day 2 from Fort Worth in Texas. And the half-time score here at grey and wet Langtree Park in the First Utility Super League. St. Helens 22, the Huddersfield Giants 6. Blistering start by the Saints, which would be just what Nathan Brown would have wanted. Remember, they've won 5 from 6 at home this year. Only Wigan have won here in 2014. Disappointed at the magic, wanted a response and has got it. Paul Anderson's team had won 5 in a row coming into this match. They've won 4 from 7 away from home. They've lost at Hull, Catalan and Widnes. Hull beat them 30 points to 6 in April. They've won all 3 away from home since then, including the magic weekend against Bradford last week. Let's have a look what John and Brian made of the first half.
Yeah, thanks very much, Eddie. Cast your minds back to Magic Weekend, and it was St. Helens hit by a fast start from the Warrington Wolves. Well, they've turned on the style tonight and really blown the Huddersfield Giants away early on. 5 minutes in, John, first score registered in favour of St. Helens. Blistering break, blistering start, as Eddie said.
Yeah, great opening salvo from St. Helens, and I dare say that's a little bit of what Nathan Brown was talking about. They bemoaned earlier on in the season that they're dropping the ball on the first tackle. Part of this attitude and ethos that they were talking about, trying to get into the club, big fast starts. First thing, I think, lovely ball. If we just go back to Walsh pulling in Kopchak. Kopchak actually leaves the line, and you don't blame him for that necessarily. You've got to question what these other guys are doing around him, though, because that doesn't look like a clear defensive line with a single-minded attitude.
That's
there.
a theme, though, that will be repeated. Craig Kopchak and the players either side of him.
Yeah, it's something to look back on, and as I said, it's not something we're going to necessarily blame Craig Kopchak for. But as I said, we'll deal with that when it comes. The end of the break and the first try to Gary Whelan, it was really well taken. We left that on the end because that's good ball control there and getting that down to open the scoring.
That converted 6-0 to St Helens. A try followed 4 minutes later on the 9th minute, inspired by a James Roby break, scored by Lance Ohio. More of that shortly. But following that, Paul Wellens, the man who was most critical, or most vocal, I should say, of his side last week in the Magic Weekend, he scored after 12 minutes. This from a Luke Walsh break, John.
And when you come out and you make statements as strong and as honest, and I think we all appreciated that after their loss against Warrington, you've got to back it up with some performance, haven't you? And I think he's had a fantastic first 40 minutes. A little bit of fullback 101 for you here. Here he is at the, he walks into the base of the ruck, just hides himself behind James Roby, and that's a perfect position for a fullback to be, because you're right on the inside of any break that's going to be made. But what impressed me most about this play was a halfback willing to take on the line. That terrifies forwards. You ask Baz and Tez what it's like having a halfback coming at you with the ball in two hands, and it's that movement towards the line that really causes confusion. I mean, again, we'll finish off with what's wrong with this Huddersfield defence, because there's something not right with it at the moment. It looks lacklustre, it looks disorganised, but you've got to give the credit there. I think it was a great try and well followed up by Paul Wellens. That's the key point. OK,
that was their third try, brought them out to 18-0. Of course, Matty Dawson scored to make it 22-6 after the Lauren Patrick try. But we will go back for our third bit of VT to look at a man that's inspired them, not just today, but season after season. I'm watching him, John, here, and I'm in awe again of James Roby and his performances.
What he's doing is what he's always done throughout his career. He's very, very good at recognising when the marker's not switched on. Now, St Helens have done a great job, particularly in the opening 20 minutes. They've been winning the ruck. Makes the job for the markers very difficult. So they haven't dominated the tackle. It's not a bad tackle, but you look at the reaction from these two markers. It's not great. And by the way, while we're still at it, Kopchak leaving the line. Now, leaving the line in itself is, or taking the line forward itself is not a bad thing, but you've got to communicate to the guys around you, or at least the guys around you have got to be on the same page, because if you don't, you leave all kinds of holes.
Or appreciate that you might have to make the tackle.
At least just maybe check your stride a little bit, and do not leave those gaps open. That was led directly to the Lance Ohio try. Right, you'll be able to show you the Lance Ohio try. That was their second try, and then again later on in the first half, James Roby again. This one a little bit more aggressive from St Helens. Once again, the catching guys around the ruck. James Roby, you give him credit for that, and I think we were saying...
It's often not a particularly quick play, the ball, either. He can generate the speed himself.
That's it, but what he is doing, he's thinking all that time, and he's recognising when the markers are not doing their job 100% correctly. And Huddersfield, they've looked out of sorts. They've looked lacklustre. They haven't looked like they've been working together as a team. And I think St Helens have fully deserved the victory and the margin of victory, the lead and the margin of lead they have at half-time.
First and foremost, Huddersfield have to fix up what for the second half?
Tighten up the ruck. Tighten up the ruck, even if it means sacrificing an extra defender out wide. Pull everybody in a little bit tighter and make St Helens throw the ball out wide to get round the outside here, particularly in these conditions.
Yeah, conditions are deteriorating. You might have caught a glimpse of Stan Wall, the famous St Helens kidman, behind Nathan Brown in the dressing rooms, just putting some longer studs in the players' boots. Footwork and foothold in this ground is going to be so crucial. Well, 22 points to 6 in favour of St Helens now, and a lot of work to do for Huddersfield. Back to you, Ed.
Yes, a lot of work for Huddersfield Giants to do in the second half, but these St Helens supporters will be a little more content at half-time tonight than they were at the Magic last weekend. The game then really looked beyond the Saints. This one, it is theirs to lose, and can Huddersfield bite back in the second half? Third live game coming at you from the Super League this weekend, and it's a Saturday lunchtime date for the Catalan Dragons in Bradford. You'll be able to enjoy the whole game live, 1:55 on Sky Sports 3 tomorrow. Hope you're enjoying this one. Saints Huddersfield. Phil here now with the stats.
Well, let's have a look at how the team have had possession. St Helens 66 play the balls in the first half. That's less than you'd expect. 2/3 of them within their own 40-metre zone. Those are the 5 boxes on the right-hand side of your screen. Well, let's turn it over. One of the few stats in which Huddersfield lead at the moment is in possession. They've had more than their opponents. They've had 11 play the balls inside the opposition 20, but only come up with 1 try and haven't really looked that dangerous. The performance gauge, well, this collates all of the stats from the first half and gives us a prediction of who should be in front by how many. You'd expect the Saints to lead by 12 points. You can see they've made 8 breaks. Roby and Dawson have come up with 5 of those. They've been outstanding, and the tackling has been pretty impressive too.
Well, a 12-point margin say the stats. 22 points to 6 says the scoreboard as we start this second half. And Paul Whelan's little words of wisdom and truth last week has fired his teammates up. Here we go then. Mosi Masoi takes about 3 with him and makes 3 or 4 metres after the tackle was attempted.
And that's good impact as well. And I'm sure that Nathan Brown would have said, look, we got off to a flyer. And that first stanza, let's do it again. And, you know, getting the big forward going like that. Quick play the ball. And I must say that the urgency that St Helens have done in that play the ball area has given this man, James Roby, there he is, just offloading, plenty of opportunities.
Nice kick into open space by Wilkin. The chase is on. Griggs gets to it first, though. He's faced by a wall of white jerseys. Turns it inside to Aaron Murphy.
And good work by Jordan Turner there. Even though the kick was on that left-hand side, you see that Turner, the centre, had gone in on the angle just to close them down, make sure that the Giants didn't get good metres forward.
Griggs just trundled it forward 4 or 5 metres before he is tackled by Anthony Walker. Little half break.
Oh, he's got good feet in. Just talk about Danny Brough. I know we're into the early throes of this second half, but Danny Brough really got stuck into the referee, Richard Stillboard. We'll see a mistake from Huddersfield. Look at the forehead, look at the brow, look at the disappointment and frustration etched all over his face. That's a bad sign for the Giants fans and faithful.
Well, he's under no pressure. There was no one within cooey of him, and Chan really had a chance and the option to have trapped it with his foot. Took the other option and came up with the error.
Yeah, Danny Brough obviously thought he could expect better from the Papua New Guinea international, Jason Chan. Watching 2 coaches of the year in charge of their teams here tonight, of course. Paul Anderson, the reigning coach of the year, and Nathan Brown, coach of the year when he was at Huddersfield in 2009. Paul Anderson in the job for the first time last year, led the Giants to the top of the table for the first time ever, and he had 6 years as an assistant, learning his trade, and he's making a great fist of being a first-team coach. Still very much in the mix for the playoffs for Old Trafford on October the 11th this year. That's the night of the big one, the grand final. Who will be there this season? Saints would love to be. Leroy Cudjoe, not Leroy Cudjoe, it is the man on the other side wearing number 3, Jordan Turner. Here is Walsh. Walsh dabs the ball over the top. Oh, it's easy for Wilkin. Well, they were standing around and holding a board meeting, those Huddersfield defenders. He's got to be happier tonight. Eamon McManus, the chairman, has led a couple of broadsides at his team from the programme notes this year, but this is too easy, and that was a poor mistake. It's led to the try.
Yeah, Chan really should have dropped him with his foot. And I'm sure you said that Nathan Brown will be happy. I know one bloke that won't be, and that's Paul Anderson. That was very poor defending. But throughout this game, the kicking game from the Saints has been far superior. The anticipation, he knew exactly where to go. But to see 3 Giants stood around and allow John Wilkin to score with ease is not a happy thing for a coach.
I'll tell you who's happy, Steve, or Mossima saw. He had some huge charges in that first half. He's put 3 or 4 together there. And I'm going to stand up. Whatever position I have in the PFU, the prop forward union, I'm going to stand up for Mossima saw. He's running hard and he's a big thing to get down, and Huddersfield are having all kinds of trouble doing that.
Yeah, he's playing probably his best game since he has been here, the big man. Walsh adds the extras. And that was not the start that Paul Anderson and Huddersfield wanted. 28-6.
Well, I think what makes good teams great is a ruthless streak, and St Helens have just demonstrated that in the opening 5 minutes of the second half. They had the game, obviously they had a lead, but they now have a real control on the match. By scoring first in the second half, it kills any enthusiasm, and all of a sudden, the St Helens supporters have found the voice that we used to hear in the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season when the team were playing so well. Here's a contested restart. Can they get it to it in times? Yes, they can!
Yes, they can with Cudjoe. And it's found its way outside. That's a wonderful try. That is a wonderful try from Huddersfield. And it's young Ben Blackmore who has marked his return to the side, his first appearance of the season. His first appearance for about 12 months, actually. And he's got over the line, and that was wonderful kick-off from Danny Brough. It caused all sorts of problems for Saints.
Well, they just went to sleep, didn't they? Whose is it? No one really called. And what a good finish. You take your opportunities. Roby tried to get to it. Roby was facing the wrong way. Really, Lance O'Hire should have been the man screaming for it. Take nothing away for the Giants. It was a tremendous kickoff from Danny Brough. Well, is that the little light at the end of the tunnel?
But it's just the response they wanted with Ben Blackmore and that try. 2 tries for him on his debut last July against Castleford, from whence he came. And here now is Danny to try and add the extras. Gets underneath it though, he scuffs it. Misses with the kick. But that will encourage them, 28-10.
It's amazing. When a team scores a try, they sometimes bask in the glory, switch off for a few seconds, and that is exactly what the St Helens players did.
Well, Steve Lance O'Hire, who's played fullback at international level, that's the second time he's failed to complete his assignment. He'll be frustrated with himself letting that ball bounce, but we'll see the reaction and the response to Saints.
Oh, well, he tried something different, did Walsh, but it just didn't quite come off. He got over the 10-metre mark, which was the most important thing, and he nearly got there, but Huddersfield were alert. Now then, they'll need to score again. Huddersfield, the tails will be up. That's a knock-on. That will be ruled as a knock-on. It bounced off the Saints man. So you're right, Steve-O, you know, you score tries. David Fayuma with the mistake this time. You score tries, then you come up with the errors.
We're even seeing the 2 different tactics kicking-wise from the kickoffs. Danny Brough puts it as high as he can, and you see Luke Walsh there just dribbles it along the ground.
Well, you really suffer when you come up with handling errors like that, and that's the second we've seen from Jason Chan, and big problems just when you thought maybe they were getting back into the swing of things. Oh, and that's a knock-on. Or is it? Yeah, knock-on.
I think that was ripped. Brett Ferris.
And Paul Bellens agrees. Well, he would.
Well, you watch Brett Ferris with his hands all over that. There you go.
Yep.
Well, he can't have eyes in the back of his head, but he could rely on a bit of help from his touch judge.
Well, he got help from the touch judge who said knock on.
Did he?
Did.
Not much help then, was he?
Not at all.
Well, you don't want to sack him, dude.
No, but if that was the help.
I know. It's frustrating for the fans and also for the players. But
mind you, they're big lenses on our cameras. We can see things crystal clear. You know, long way away from the incident. Let's not be too critical of the officials. He did enough damage last night.
Well, the neutral viewer for this game, what needs to see a Huddersfield try next year? But they're not at the moment because they just can't control possession, partly because of some great aggression St Helens are hitting and hurting, and that's forcing the ball free.
And that was a typical example of Larne Patrick taking his eye off the ball, and that should be a penalty.
There's another knock on here. This is a penalty this time.
Yeah.
Well, come home, Sean McRae. This is a knock-on-a-thon.
Well, again, we see the big fella, Mossy Masoi. He's putting himself about. To say, he's getting back into that wonderful fitness and form that we saw in the World Cup last year.
You know,
too many errors.
This is very impressive here from St Helens when you consider that there's no Kyler Moore, no Alex Walmsley, Anthony LaFranchi isn't playing. 3 of the starting props you'd have thought at the start of the season aren't even out there, and yet the young players, Walker, Greenwood, Richards, Thompson, and obviously Mossy Masoi, who's getting all our mentions really, are doing particularly well here. Look, 3 green lights for the main stats that matter in rugby league, and they've got complete control.
Well, you're an international and you should be performing like that, and he's leading the way. That's a great kick.
It is, because that's going to stand in goal. Whoosh!
Nearly close.
My word. Murphy nearly came up with a huge error.
You know, St Helens' kicking game has been so superior.
And that's not a kick for a try, Steve-O. That's a kick to build some pressure. Put it in the in-goal area, make the Giants three-quarter line sweat a little bit. Aaron Murphy under all kinds of pressure, and it's that man again. He was the guest on Saturday, and I watched a couple of the games, and his intellect and knowledge of what's going on in rugby league is first class.
Yes, it was a pleasure to have him sat next to me.
And I don't think the St Helens club should and will let him go. He needs to impart some of that knowledge, some of that wisdom onto the younger players coming through at the club.
I don't think Steve-O's quite impressed with that last remark. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying it was a delight to have living legends of the game with us, as opposed to old legends of the game.
Well, it's going to be difficult.
I'm not stopping you now, Barry. Don't begin to me all those sort of looks.
It's going to be difficult for the Giants to keep this rampant St Helens out now. And you just get the feeling that the likes of Luke Walsh taking control out there. He's had a fantastic game, this guy.
Penalty for offside against the Huddersfield defenders. They've got to put their foot on the line.
Well, at 28-10, and you can see there that not one of them had gone back. Cudjoe was nearly dropping into dummy half in the St Helens camp.
Soliola.
Be nice to see the big fella, wouldn't it? Mossy Masoi have a rampage right to the line. It'd be difficult to stop.
Well, there's a knock on. By whom? By Huddersfield, I think.
Yeah, he put an arm round. It's got to be head and feet. St Helens, more pressure.
Having said that, John Wilkin, when he stood up then, he had Luke Robinson's face being ground into the mud. Well, we've had a try, but for 11.5 minutes it's been scrappy, hasn't it?
Need some class here now, don't we? Luke Walsh. I'm looking for Gary Wheeler and possibly the other St Helens players.
Well, from a neutral point of view, let's have 2 Huddersfield tries, but that's a little bit of a forlorn hope at the minute. Soliola gets the ball away.
Come on, Mossy. Line up for one.
Soliola again. Oof. Head went back then. Was that a clash of heads?
Here he comes, Mossy.
There he is. There's the try. And the referee has a look and points to the spot, and Huddersfield, the players are furious because they believe there was an obstruction in the build-up to that try, or something.
An obstruction by the referee, I think, was the claim, and probably they'd have a case there, but he's dismissed that.
Well, probably dismiss it because he can't just disappear out of the way. He has to be somewhere, and there's nothing in the law that accounts for that. So I think that's where their complaints are coming from.
It's foolish by Huddersfield to think that that's going to answer the questions. You're right. Mark that down as a missed tackle for Richard Silva. His technique was disgraceful. He almost jumped out of the way, Steve-O.
I think I would too. Look at the size of this giant. Bang! Is that a fine game?
Yes, he's capped his best display for St Helens with a try. But it was obstruction by the ref. Huddersfield just couldn't get to anywhere near him. Walsh has added the extras. 34-10.
Yeah, it's going a little bit embarrassing now, isn't it, for the Giants? Well, isn't it great to see him back in the top form? This is how to run onto the football. Never mind the referee, get out of the way. You can understand why the Giants were complaining.
Well, Makinson fielded the more orthodox kick-off, leads ahead at Headingley against Hull, 12-0. A lot of people tipping that was going to be a real runaway win for the Rhinos, but 12-0 into the second half here. 34-10 to St Helens. Ball lost and picked up by Ukumatai. And a penalty to Huddersfield. Well, I know Saints have scored 2 tries, but the game's hardly started in the second half, has it?
Yeah, stop-start affair, but I suppose when you go in at half-time 22-6, it's pretty difficult. And remember, as soon as John Wilkins scored that early try, putting 28-6, very difficult to get back in the swing of things.
Brough stabs the kick through. They're all after this, and they're going to get it in Brett Ferris. Brett Ferris touches down, does he? Referee has a look both ways and gives the try. Brett Ferris with the try for Huddersfield. Well, it's you score, we score, we score, you score.
Well, the thing is that Huddersfield at least have reverted back to the kicking game that's needed. They just completely took it away, didn't they? James Roby. Neat kick. That's what they should have been doing a lot more in the first half, and well done, Brett Ferris. It's a set move, set pattern. Beautiful. Took it well.
I wonder whether that could be a sea change now. And Danny Brough, who's too intelligent, as we see the conversion successful. I wonder whether Danny Brough makes a mental note and thinks to himself, hard, low, and make it difficult to handle.
2 tries apiece at the start of this second half. Ken Davey, the Huddersfield Giants owner, hoping against hope that the comeback is on the way.
Well, whether they come back or not, Eddie, we're going to find out just how impressive the competitive spirit is here. Danny Brough puts the kick through, and Brett Ferris does really well, doesn't he, to pick that up and ground it. They've got nothing to lose here now. They can play as hard and fast as they possibly can. I guess they've got to take some risks, and there aren't many teams better at taking risks with players like Danny Brough.
No, you can expect a little bit different. Maybe the dribble through or the chip over the top. They've got to test their arm, but the message will be going out from Nathan Brown, the Saints coach, say, come on, let's tighten up this defence. Don't think that it's an easy ride from here on in.
And Steve-O, they can lose the reputation. The Huddersfield Giants players are behind on the scoreboard. Whether they win this game or not, you can lose your reputation if you're a player. You suffer the accusation of turning it up just because the game's gone. You put the cue in the rack and decided it wasn't worth it.
Oh, if Wardle could have just slipped that pass. Scott Griggs was away. Ferris, dummy half. Here is Brough. Now Crabtree.
Sorry, Eddie, it was good support by Griggs as well. You know, he's launching himself as a fullback. Griggs getting that short ball.
Now Brough, this is the last tackle. He's running it. Gives it to Ferris. Quick hands to Wardle forward. Too quick, the hands. Too quick.
Yeah, but at least they're having a snap at it.
He's got a face on him, hasn't he, Danny?
Just. Wardle was just in front.
Touchline call, Stuart.
It was a very, very close call. Referee in line with it. So you've got to think that he's probably right on that one.
Helens is out there. Plays the ball to Roby. And here comes Joe Greenwood.
Messing around. Can't afford to do that.
Spinning him on the ground.
And they've made it quite clear to the officials all throughout this season. You know, when the tackle's completed, let him get up and play the ball. Didn't do that.
So 22 minutes remaining, 34-16 the score.
And you know, I often think that what happens in the final quarter completely distorts what's happened for the previous 60. You know, whoever scores the points in the final will change the perception, might not change the result here. But if St Helens want to score a couple more times, we'll think that they're absolutely hammered Huddersfield. You'll forget that at 60 minutes, there's a 34-16 scoreline here. Which team can close it out and be the strongest in the final 20?
Well, there's three hunting John Wilkin. They eventually get him down. That's 3 tackles gone, 12 metres from the line. Down that left-hand side with O'Hire, drop of the shoulder from O'Hire. He's collared round the neck by Leroy Cudjoe. But it was perfectly legal. It was the collar of the jersey. And here is Flanagan. Oh, Flanagan gets a ball away. The ball is dropped backwards to Makinson. It's 6 to go for Saints. There was a Huddersfield hand in there.
It leaves the link, trying to get the link across.
Here goes Anthony Walker.
Walsh is screaming for it. Will he get first receive? Or will they take the big prop first? No, they've gone blindside.
He's gone on his own as Roby. And he's stopped dead in his tracks by the considerable frame of Earl Crabtree. There's Joe Greenwood. Here is Walsh. He's got it now. They've loaded down the left-hand side with O'Hire. O'Hire then gets it to Gary Wheeler. Leroy Cudjoe halted him. O'Hire at dummy half. Back it comes to John Wilkin. Wilkin then gives it to Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook. There's 4. Roby goes back that way. Wilkin trying to slide the kick in. That was played at. This is going to be 6 to go. Another 6 coming at this Huddersfield defence from less than 10 metres out.
Well, he looks happy, does Nathan Brown, and so he should be.
And he'll be expecting them to score from this.
Yeah, they've been applying the pressure. 3 sets of 6 on the trot. It normally brings about points.
And Louis McCarthy-Scarsbrook plays the ball to Roby. Here is Wilkin. Back it goes to Walsh. Oh!
It should have produced points.
Off the knees and hands of Anthony Walker. And the chance is going begging.
And he knew it as well. It was a good setup. Short pass, just couldn't get to it.
Well, the young forward's done everything right except catch the ball. When he goes back and watches that, he'll know he's thrown away a certain try. He's worked hard in this game. We keep talking about Greenwood, Walker, Richards, Luke Thompson, gaining valuable experience, crossing swords with some of the best forwards running round in Super League. Chan and Ferris and Lamb Patrick, the back 3 on shore for the Giants, are as good as anything around in the game on their day.
Yeah, but they've been outflanked by the opposition's forwards, which have rather surprised me. And it's given the opportunity to Luke Walsh. He's had a superb game as well. He's directed traffic out there.
That was a decent run from Crabtree. The ball was behind him in the pass. This is Sean Lunt. Sean Lunt is grabbed by Greenwood. Finished off by Wilkin. Robinson goes down centre field. Here comes the last tackle for the Huddersfield Giants.
Will be a chip over the top. They've got to try something.
Kopjak played the ball and Brough put boot to ball, and Wellens clutches it out of the air.
He's like a magnet, isn't he? Paul Wellens, so many years. As soon as the ball gets up in the air, he just seems to be attracted to it.
Well, it's 6 years since the Saints last won a trophy, the 2008 Challenge Cup. It's 8 years since they last walked out at Old Trafford, or at least their last grand final win. Sean Long captained them to a victory at Old Trafford against Hull.
What's the chase like here? And it is good, as it has been all night.
They've had a great 20 minutes, haven't they, where they've controlled the game, they've scored the tries, they've had so much of it in the opposite's territory, down near Huddersfield's try line, and I think that was the reason why John Wilkin senses there's a chance here to break the hearts and souls of the Huddersfield Giants here. They can just continue down here at this end of the field. Kicked early, look at that defence. You know, Eddie, they said it's been a few years since they've got to the grand final and won it. They need the young players having valuable game time at present. Greenwood, Walker, Richards out there on the field here, being strong, competitive in the final stages of a game. This can only do them good if they want to get back to Old Trafford this year.
There's a decent run from Blackmore. Here now is Robinson, short ball from him. Oh, and Lon Patrick couldn't hang on. He flings it forward accidentally, but 0 is the call from Richard Silverwood.
Over the advantage, so they'll play on, which is good work by the official.
Makinson. The tries have suddenly dried up for Tommy Makinson. 14. Just one ahead of Ryan Hall, depending what Hall has done at Headingley tonight.
Go, 2.
Wilkin pirouetted and tried to go around Ukumatai, couldn't. Roby, O'Hire off the outside of the boot.
That's all that's needed.
He's happy enough, Griggs, to let that go over the line.
Yeah, and that's all it needs, as Phil had mentioned. Saints in the second half, they've controlled everything, keep them turning around.
Just fascinated about Huddersfield, Eddie. We saw Paul Anderson in the stands. He said before the game that they'd won the last 5 in Super League, which is true. But with respect to 4 of those teams, I think they'd only played against one really good side in the top half of the table, Castleford Tigers, who they managed to beat by a point. But from what we've seen, the other 4 wins came against sides in the bottom half of the table, not in great form. And from what we've seen tonight here, I think Paul Anderson's got a massive job here, halfway through 2014, to turn around the Giants, to get them back to doing what they did so successfully last year, when they had Brett Ferris in sensational form out wide on the left, enjoying so much of the play. He's had the ball tonight, but maybe a year on, teams are starting to learn what Brett Ferris is good at, and somehow managing to contain him.
Play on. There was a couple of mistakes from both sides there.
Yeah.
And it's a 0 tackle, what's more, that Crabtree goes down under. You talk about the Huddersfield challenge that lies ahead for Paul Anderson. Next up is Thursday, and it is Huddersfield against Wigan.
Well, that was an impossible pass there from Brett Ferris. I know they're chasing the scoreboard, but that really wasn't on. You could see that Joe Wardle had overrun it. He really should have kept hold of it.
In wet conditions, when you're passing a ball that close to the line, you really are putting pressure on the receiver. And a pass far behind the line, Huddersfield have a big job next Thursday against Wigan. Whether they get anything from this game or not, they'll have to learn some lessons.
And we back that up with Warrington Leeds next Friday. This time next week we'll be at that big one, 7:30.
Mouth-watering those.
They are. Let's hope the weather's kinder than it is tonight, because this ball is pretty slippy. This pitch is thick and lush. It really is. It's
good hands, wasn't it, from Richards there to pick that up and make ground.
There's a knock on by Flanagan.
And it's another pass close to the line. If you can pass the ball to a player who hasn't got as much pressure, he won't be as apprehensive. Good defence from Huddersfield. Joe Wardle, low, Earl Crabtree right round the ball, and I'm really pleased to see Mark Flanagan back on the pitch. It's only his 6th game of 2014.
14-0 Leeds Rhinos over Hull. Ball's dropped again, hacked forward. Here's Wheeler, and Wheeler's after his second now. I think he might have got it. Snaked a hand out, but he's been hurt in the attempt to score that try. And was it being pulled back anyway?
The ball bounced as well, Eddie, when it's bounced up with the impact of the fingers. We'll soon find out. The video ref.
Yes, Phil Bentham is the video referee. The operator is Ian Smith.
And a few things to look at here. First of all, is that knocked on or is it stolen? The knock on by Leroy Cudjoe, by Tay. Then it will be a free play anyway, so whatever the outcome, if it's a no try, it will come back to a scrum to St Helens. Well, I think you see him pull on the hand there, so that should be carrying on from that position. That would be classed as a loose carry. It should be play on from there. See the players on side who's chasing. Does he get the ball down? Is he pulled back?
Well, he appears to get a finger to the ball, but I think it bounces, so it's a knock-on. But was he impeded? Was it Danny Brough that pulls him back. Now, you can utilise the shoulder, but you can't pull back a man like that.
Danny Bruff's only ever looking at Gary Wheeler, so not looking at the ball.
Is it a possible penalty try if it's not a try, Stuart?
Well, that's something they can consider, a penalty try in that situation. Would he have scored the try had he not been pulled back by Danny Bruff? But has he scored it anyway?
No.
Of course he has. Is that not close enough?
I think he's bounced that ball.
There's a huge gap there, Phil. There it is.
I don't think there's any downward pressure on the ball at that point.
Well, I'd give a penalty try. There's no doubt in my mind that Danny Bruff has pulled him back, and he would have scored easy.
I don't think he's got that, but the best news for the St Helens fans is Gary Wheeler is back up.
Well, that's the best news for Gary Wheeler. Here's the decision.
The decision is a penalty try on the try score.
Penalty try, second try, though it goes down to Gary Wheeler's name. Danny Bruff was pulling at the shoulder. Had he not done that, the feeling of the officials is that Wheeler would have scored anyway. So he gets the try, Gary Wheeler, and he's crowned his comeback with 2.
And again, the error pops up. Nanto Hyde as well gets boot to ball, and he was alert. And the officials have got it absolutely spot on. The penalty try had to be given. Danny Bruff made no attempt for the ball, he just went for the man. And that'll be recorded as a try for Gary Wheeler. Number 2 tonight.
Well, what about the courage in defence from St Helens? John Wilkin put his body on the line. Put his body in front of Akumatai, who's another big man. And Gary Wheeler back in the Saints side. 4 turned into 6. And as we say, he stayed down. The best part of that try was he's got back up and he's ready to play on.
Well, you know, Gary has never played more than 14 games in any year. He has had such bad luck with injury, and every time he goes down, your heart's in your mouth. But 2 tries tonight for Gary Wheeler on his return, and just looking at the stat here, he's missed the last 4 games.
I think everyone would agree, though, he does have the ability. I mean, I remember back in the early 80s, Peter Reid was a football player who suffered a series of injuries, but eventually came good, and then had a 10-year period where he wasn't. And there are players in Australia at the moment who are probably going to play at the higher level now. Some of them get to 24, 25, having had knee reconstructions, shoulder surgery, but then forced away into State of Origin and international level rugby league. And I think Gary Wheeler has the potential to play at the highest level over here if he can string those games together. He's still got 10 years ahead of his career if he can just stay out there on the field.
Yeah, he's at that age you've just been talking about, 24.
But this will be a real lift for him as well, Eddie, you know, to score 2 tries. It's all a positive for the man. Well, Paul Wellens, he doubted the attitude last week of his fellow players, and they have responded very well indeed.
And he's led by example as well. Everything that he's done tonight has had a 100% commitment behind it. A great leader, and leadership comes in many forms, whether it's one of those Churchillian speeches before you go out, or something as damning as after the game, as same as last week. But he's led by example tonight.
Ben Blackmore just slipped at the vital moment there. It was a good fluent move from Huddersfield down the right-hand side.
And I'll tell you what, Eddie, that Ben Blackmore, he came in late into this side. He hasn't let the side down at all. He's worked very, very well indeed.
Bruff is starting to get more and more impatient and more frustrating.
Good work by Jordan Turner, anticipated the kick through. And it just shows you look at the scoreline. At 40 points in 16, that's the reason why the likes of Danny Bruff are getting frustrated. Well, they've had a thrashing.
Leeds are winning at home to Hull FC, which means that St Helens won't go back to the top of the table, but they will leapfrog the Wigan Warriors. They'll be second at the end of tonight. Leeds will be still clear on top of the pile. And here is That man again, Gary Wheeler, but oh, this time he loses the ball in collision, and Leroy Cudjoe has it. And he's got Blackmore outside him, and Blackmore here. Blackmore all the way to the line. A second try for Ben Blackmore.
And fully deserved. He's had a fine match.
Well, tries are plenty in this game. And this the latest to Huddersfield.
Well, I think you'll find that Gary Wheeler tries to offload here when he really didn't have to bother. Takes a step, he looks to offload. It wasn't the best one, was it? Cudjoe did well, and this is a good finish. Good stuff. Game's gone. It's all mere consolation. But he'll remember that for a long time.
Yeah, 2 tries on his debut against Castleford. 2 tries here tonight for his first appearance of 2014 for Ben Blackmore. Can Brough add the extras? He can. So the scoreline has a little respectability about it now. But the conference is being led by Paul Wellens. He doesn't want them to relax their grip on this match. He knows give this Giants team a sniff.
I think Paul Wellens is furious, isn't he? And rightly so, because that's sloppy play. I just said how highly I think Gary Wheeler can play this game. But it was a needless and senseless offload, really, inside his own half. Almost too high risk. There was no benefit to come from it. And all that happened was that Huddersfield scored. And habits like that do tend to stick with players in games. I know it means nothing in the context for this match, but it could in a big game in the near future.
Well, I think that's the message that Paul Wellens was getting across, not just to the rest of his team, but to the youngster Gary Wheeler, saying we didn't need that, we were in control. And that's maybe a little bit more professionalism has to come into this St. Helens side. Well, they've certainly shown it for most of this game. Was that an attempted trip there by Luke Walsh, or was he just trying to get the boot out of the way?
Well, they get a penalty here, Huddersfield. They could have had one in the last tackle as well, because Crabtree had a man all over him as he got up to try and play the ball, and there was more messing around from St. Helens. So the penalty coming from Richard Silverwood's whistle, and here's Kopchak now, and he gets them over halfway on the first tackle. Lunt and Robinson.
They've been good in patches, Eddie, as Huddersfield, but they haven't been consistent. And the battle in the forwards, which I thought that they would take control, I'm afraid they've lost it. And that's play on. He'll go all the way, surely. He's got the speed, Luke Walsh.
Yes, he has. He's got Aaron Murphy after him. I bet they go and have a look at the way this ball comes out, though. I bet they'll have a look at this.
Of course he will. How did the ball come free?
Well, I think there was contact with the head, but of course, Scott Griggs, I think it was slipping, wasn't he? And what's the responsibility here, Stuart, of the tackler? Well, he wasn't slipping, actually, was he, at all?
Any contact with the head should be, penalised. Certainly at that height, at that speed.
They can't give this try, surely. All right, he hit the ball first, but finished up in the
Slipping Griggs there to be...
Yeah, but he's got a duty of care, though, Barry.
And he finished it up in the face, so this should be turned down. And even all the St. Helens players, they're coming back, they know it.
Is no try, penalty for the high tackle.
So Walsh's try is chalked off. You come all the way back into the St. Helens half for the penalty for that.
As I said before, he made impact on the ball, but it's where you finished that counts.
Barry can't believe a penalty was given for that.
I've no problem with a penalty. I think it probably was. It was under the laws and regulations. It was around the head. My mitigation was the slip and the fact that it was a winger.
No wonder you didn't get much success when you went to the disciplinary with an argument like that.
I was always guilty, Eddie. I had no defence.
Well, neither did Tommy Makinson on that occasion. Here's Lunt again now, looking to get to the line again. Sean Lunt Tell you what, the score here, we will have a bit of a finish, won't we?
Still plenty on the clock, isn't there?
Go, three.
Nervous times.
Robinson to Big Earl.
That look forward. He went far too early, did Crabtree. Got away with it. Lunt, dummy, on his own.
He's getting frustrated, Earl Crabtree too. Bruff gets it away. Good hit. That's a better hit from Makinson. Roger plays the ball. Here's Bruff, slides the kick in again. And the ball's come free. The ball is loose. It's all over the shop now.
That's a try. He's lost it and he's claiming the try. Boy, this is going to be interesting.
First of all, on the onside, Huddersfield.
Well, Greenwood had an opportunity.
They're looking for a number of things, Stuart, by the sound of it.
Checking onside and how the ball come out, as Richard Silverwood says. So they look as if they're all onside from that kick, I think. Very close on that angle, but I would think that you know, usually set plays, the players tend to be behind. So I think we'll probably get the green light on this one. Oh, very close. It's I think it's Scott Grigson they're looking at. Only old Crabtree's behind the ball. Decision on Scott Griggs. Moving on. St Helens in possession. How does this ball come out of here? Stolen. Well, I think it's stolen there. You can see that quite clearly. The ball's pulled out. So I think this should go with a penalty to St Helens for a ball steal.
And the decision is no try taken for the goal.
Ball steal, which Crabtree doesn't agree with.
Well, it's quite clear on the replay that it was stolen, was briefed away. Neat little chip through. Sure that Danny Bruff will be saying to himself, I wish he'd had the opportunity to kick a few of those in the first half when it was needed, and they failed to do that. So it's a little bit late in the game. 40 points to 22. Now this will be safety first, or should be. Sure that Nathan Brown, the Saints coach, would have said, okay lads, let's just wrap it up, show our professionalism, and we can keep hold of the ball, get the kick and chase, and he'll be happy.
Big Mossy. Oh, what a pass off the deck. And he wipes the tackle count down again, Richard Silverwood. There was a Huddersfield hand flicking out at that ball, so 6 to go. Louis McCarthy, Scarsbrook.
Mossy wants another run.
Roby has one. And 0 again, the tackle count again wiped down. Another Huddersfield hand on that ball as it went out. Here's Wheeler. Wheeler gets it away to Dawson. And now it's Joe Greenwood. Roby in centre field, finds Walsh. Walsh then to Mark Flanagan. Four tackles gone. Roby comes down the short side with Walsh, who stabs the kick in behind the defence.
Brilliant kick and brilliant chase. That's professionalism for you, and it's coming spades from the half-back Luke Walsh.
Well, I'm not sure Jordan Turner knew that kick was coming in. And a couple of moments ago he was limping in the back play, but as soon as that ball went on the end of Luke Walsh's toe, he reacted there. You see, looks like he picked up a knock a couple of minutes ago.
Goal line dropout then. We've got 3 minutes remaining. 40-22. I don't think the result is in any doubt whatsoever.
But it's for sure. What a game this guy's had.
Not sure, yes, he's had his finest game.
Yeah.
20 points to 6, Leeds have won. They're clear top. Saints are second, Wigan are third.
Boy, you wouldn't bet against Mossy Masoi getting his second of the night. And the crowd will go they'll go bananas if he does.
He's winding up again for a run, but they've missed him out this time. Ohio looked for Soliola and then decided against it, so took the tackle himself.
The big fella's on the left-hand side.
He wanted it. He wanted it, and the ball has gone back all the way to Jordan Turner. This is the last tackle coming up for St Helens. And they're going Mossie's way this time. Drop goal from Luke Walsh.
Thank you very much. Thank you, linesman. Thank you, ball boys. That's it. Wrapped it up. He's had a fine game. He's a fine player.
Well, he showed that he could do it in the Challenge Cup when they really needed it in the 80th minute. We're not quite in the 80th minute and the score isn't as tight. But it's going to confirm 2 more points on the league table for St Helens, and I think cheer up 1 or 2 of the supporters as well.
41-22. They've been quite quiet actually about all these rumours surrounding Luke Walsh, haven't they, and his apparent homesickness. It does take time for people to settle in here. I know it, Steve, it took you long enough. You've been here for 23 years. You still get a little bit homesick from time to time.
It depends which plane I'm on. It's as simple as that. But yeah, listen, I did inquire to an official at the club earlier today about the rumours, and he quashed those. He said that it has been difficult for Luke Walsh to settle in, but he reckons that everything is A-OK, and they will not be going back to Australia.
Well, that's good news. That's good news. Always like to quash the rumours, don't we, if we can?
Well, we don't start them, so we may as well quash one for a while.
Steve, I've got a quick question. You know, the sickness, the homesickness that you sometimes suffer, does it rub off on other people? Do other people get sick of you?
I think you know the answer to that one, Baz.
I do, yes.
Ohio just dumps the ball into touch, and St Helens have won this match. It was a wonderful start to the first half. It was a wonderful start to the second half. And, well, Eamon McManus said, don't panic, but just let's respond with a bit more urgency. And that's what they've done.
And I think they've got the next game up, Salford. So on this ground here, the Dogs are back to winning ways and staying in the top 4 places where they want to be when they get to September.
Yes, the third now, they're second now in the table. They dropped down to third last night, courtesy of Wigan's victory at Salford. They leapfrogged their closest rivals. Wigan, of course, have still got the game in hand. Leeds cleared at the top, courtesy of their win tonight against Hull FC. Smiles all round. Such a difference from last Sunday when it was frustration all round for St Helens. But these two, I think, will tangle again before the end of the season when the chips really are down. In a wet old night here in St Helens. Paul Wellens was the most vociferous critic last week. It'll be interesting to see what his view is about this victory here tonight, and I'm sure that Rod Studd will be catching up with him. In fact, there's confirmation. He's waiting to talk to us right after we hear from the man of the match, who's had his best game since arriving at St Helens, Mossy Massoy, with Rod.
Mossy, well done. That's a big win for St Helens, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was good to bounce back from last week's performance. It's pretty embarrassing, like our captain said, last week against Warrington. So we're pretty soft in the middle last week, and we needed to tighten it up and work hard.
You're missing a lot of your forwards, so a lot of responsibility on you to put in a big performance. Did you feel that you had to put in a big game yourself?
Yeah, I knew that I had it in the bag, but I knew it because the young guys in our team, they can come off the bench and perform just as well. So yeah, all the credit to all the young boys in our team, Tomo, and all the young fellas in our side. Yeah, they held it together for us.
We know you missed the start of the season with an injury. Do you feel you're getting into your best form now for Saints?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just a one step, yeah, towards our form, but still got to learn a lot. Just, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Well played tonight. Thanks for talking to us. Let's bring the captain in that you spoke to about a moment or two ago, Mossy. Paul, we know you had some strong words after the Warrington game. Just give us a clue at what was said between you and the players and the coaching staff and everyone in the week building up to this game against Huddersfield.
You know, I don't want to give too much away. I think it's important when we've had discussions like we've had this week, it does stay pretty much behind doors. But you know, the few untruths get told, and you have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, are you coming up with the goods? And you know, I think today was a marked improvement on last week, certainly. Are we where we want to be? No, not by a long shot, but the effort and the attitude was there tonight, which is important.
The start was evident that things had been said and there was a change in attitude, the way you roared into a big lead early on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is. I think from our point of view, it's about building on it as well. We don't want to be a team that, you know, produces it one week and then not the next. So we've got a huge game at home to solve for next week, and the attitude and the effort needs to be similar. And if we can tidy up in a few areas, maybe we can have a better performance.
Leeds have won tonight. That means you're still second, but you're breathing down their necks. So despite all the things that have happened and all the things that have gone wrong, Saints are still in a very good position in the table.
Yes, certainly, and you know, I think that's important. But in terms of where we want to go and what we want to achieve at the end of the year, it's very much focused on performance at the moment. I think if we do that, the league table will take care of itself.
Thanks for talking to us, ever, Paul. Much appreciated.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Danny Bruff's here. Well, Danny, we spoke after the Magic game against Bradford, and it's a very different Danny Bruff coming across to talk tonight, isn't it? What was the difference? What went wrong tonight, do you think?
Oh, we just got a lesson in enthusiasm and how to play quicker on the ruck, and while you're letting James Roby run and play, you know, you're going to have a tough night, and you know, if they get the goal forward and Luke Walsh kicks on back, you know, you come up with headers like we did, it ain't good enough.
Wigan next as well.
Yeah, it don't get any easier, but you know, they had a rollicking last week, and you know, that's only words, it's mentality. You've got to turn up and, you know, want to roll your sleeves up, and we didn't do that tonight. We came here, you know, thinking we've done well, won 5 out of 5. You know, that it ain't good enough for Liverpool.
Thanks for talking to us, Danny. Much appreciated.
No problem.
Disappointed, Danny Bruff, there's no doubt about that. But delight for St Helens after the disappointment of last week. What a difference, 5-6 days make in this sport of rugby league. In the depths of despair 1 minute, and feeling like you're on top of the world or close to it the next. Well, next up for Huddersfield, it is Wigan, live on Sky on Thursday. For Saints, Salford. But we'll react and analyse this match when we come back. Well, our live game tonight came from Langtree Park. Welcome now to Super League Extra Time, where we are reflecting on a big win for St Helens against last year's league leaders, the Huddersfield Giants. Remember, Huddersfield beat Saints home and away in 2013. In 2014, they had lost to Saints in the Cup, and now they've lost to Saints here in the league. 41-22. Wheeler with 2 tries on his comeback. Ohio, Wellens, Dawson, Wilkin and Massoy, who was also the man of the match. Walsh with 6 conversions and a drop goal. And the Huddersfield Giants, Blackmore, the young winger, first game of the season, 2 tries for him. Patrick and Ferris and Danny Bruff kicked 3 goals. Over 10,000 here, 22-6 half-time. Virtually 1 at half-time, but let's see what John and Brian made of it all.
Yes, absolutely right, Eddie. 22-6 at half-time. The second half won by St Helens by just 19 points to 16. It was try for try, score for score between the two sides, but that great first half lead was enough for St Helens. They got off to a great start of the game. They got off to a great start again, John Wells, at that start of that second half.
Yeah, they did, Brian. Some big performances given the circumstances and what had been said during the week from those in and around St Helens. The 3 W's for me tonight: Wilkin,
Walmsley, Wheeler, Walsh.
Yeah. And Whittle once Ohio. Wilkin, Wellens and Walsh. And we're going to show you Wilkin's try, and it's Walsh who starts it. Here's Luke Walsh. You promised you were going to do him, and you did. So Luke Walsh calls it. The 2 hands in the air, generally speaking, that's the overcall. That's I want the ball to the hooker. And then out-competed in the end. Wilkin gets a nice bounce, but he gets on the inside of Luke Robinson.
Whose ball is that?
It's Luke Robinson's ball. And I mean, perhaps an earlier call from Scott Grick